Hello guys, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be doing a reading vlog on House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Crescent City series. There are only 2 books out right now in it, and because this book is a second book in the series, this reading vlog is going to have full spoilers in it. Full on, I'm talking about everything. So if you have not yet read this book and you want to read it, please kindly click off this video now, because I don't want you to have anything spoiled for yourself. It's just that I literally was trying to figure out a way to do this in a non-spoiler way, and I literally couldn't. I was like, everything that I say is a spoiler for things that have happened in the first book. If you guys haven't read this yet, just skip out on this video. Please go read this book and then come back to this video to enjoy this journey with me. I'm actually recording this after I have read this book, after I filmed this video, because I wanted to say a few disclaimers before we went into it. Well, really only one disclaimer. The one disclaimer that I have is that, guys, listen, I know after the fact that I pronunciate a lot of the names in this book wrong. First of all, we have Hind, Emil. His name is Emil. One of the characters' names is Emil. I say Emily the whole entire time. I didn't use my context clues that he was a guy. Why would his name be Emily? I mean, his name could be Emily though. Who am I to judge somebody's name? I was just like, okay, cool, his name's Emily. But his name is Emil. And there are a lot of names that I do mispronunciate. I'm just asking you guys, let's just be cool and let's not comment that, because I am aware that I have pronunciated them wrong, and I am aware that it is going to annoy you guys, but I would just appreciate not to have the comments flooded with, you know, you're pronouncing this name wrong. I can't even watch this video because she pronunciates these names wrong. Listen, I know, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. I can't go back and change it. That is what we're doing today. Again, I'm giving you guys another chance. Click off this video because this is full spoilers, baby. We're going in on House of Sky and Breath, so let's do it. Why, hello there. Okay guys, listen, this is a very impromptu video because as you can tell, I'm going to be doing a reading vlog on House of Sky and Breath, and currently I'm about 200, I think. I'm either at 200 pages or I'm about to be at 200 pages in. Here's the thing, is that I didn't start this, so I started it out. Also, you're literally sitting on top of my Stanley Cup right now. So I was gonna do this as a little Instagram reel, but I feel like I can't. We're gonna do this. So I'm 200 pages in, and the reason that I feel like I can still start this is because I think this book is literally 800 something pages long, so we have plenty to go. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I think, honestly, the storyline for this book just now, and I mean the chapter I just finished, I think it's built up the storyline. I feel like everything in these 200 pages have been an introduction to what the main plot and how we're gonna follow this book, which I feel like we did that a lot quicker in House of Earth and Blood. I feel like we got to the main plot a lot quicker than we do in this book, but I feel like what made it feel longer is that you were doing all the world building, whereas now you don't have to do any of that world building. You're just kind of jumping in, kind of getting a little bit of progress of how the world is after the last book ended. And currently, I literally have all of this. I have all of this going on noted. That way I understand, on this page, it's literally just okay, so this is the friend group, and I have Bryce is our main character, and then we have some other characters and how they're all connected and all of those, and then we just have the characters. These are just characters that are mentioned and they're important. And then I also have over here, this is literally me writing down in the most simple of terms what is going on in the book right now, because say something pops up, I can just look at this page and I'll be okay, yeah, well, this person is doing this, so that's why they're serving this purpose. I am currently, let's look, I've also been really annotating this. For one, I'm actually, though, guys, really liking this book so far, but I wrote in the front what each tab stands for. So the darkest blue is important information. So information that I feel is very important for the plot. And then the other darker blue, which is just a little bit lighter than that one, is sad moments, because this book does have sad moments. Then we have this one, which is, I put lovey. This is like lovey moments with any of the characters that I think are sweet, cute, or like have to do with the main couple. And then this one, we have quotes, and then we have the funny moments, because there's also some of those in there. So when you see those tabs, which I think the most I have is the darkest blue, which are important things that I've been tabbing. That way I can go back to it and like know where it's at. But right now I'm on chapter 17. This is page 194. So I'm almost to 200 pages in. We're just now building up the plot. I have decided that this is actually going to be a spoiler vlog, which I have put in the description. If you guys have not read this book, please click off, because the reason that this is a spoiler vlog is because I don't know how to talk about things, because a lot of the things that happen in this book really matter with what happened in House of Earth and Blood, so I can't really like not spoil that, you know? Anyway, let's talk about like what has happened thus far in the book and kind of like what my reactions have been. I don't feel that there's been something that is very important to document my reactions on, so I feel like that's why I haven't. That's why I'm fine with starting the vlog here, because I feel like now is when we are going to start having some reactions and kind of whatever. So also with this book, a lot of people rave, and I've seen people on TikTok, and I haven't spoiled it for myself. I almost did last night. A lot of people react to the end of this book and they're like, oh my god, I'm freaking out. So I'm very excited to like get to the end of this book. But anyway, like I said, I have my little character chart. So I have my little friends chart. Of course, we have Bryce, Hunt, Danica, Yuri, and Juniper, who are together. And then we have Rune with all of like his friends, which are Flynn, Mark, and Declan, who are together. And then we have Hypaxia, who is the healer from the other book, and she's also who Rune is supposed to marry. And then we have Ethan and Connor. They were brothers, but obviously Connor's dead because him and Danica both died. But Ethan is now back into the circle with Bryce after they made up. But then we have the characters. So we have got some introductions to characters. The way that this story starts out, because this is told in a third person point of view, and you start out learning about Sophie. When I opened this book and it was like Sophie da da da, I was like, who is Sophie? I literally was like, hold on, did I miss something in the last book? Because like, who is Sophie? I was confused, and then I realized that it's a new character, and then I immediately got a headache because I knew that it was going to serve as a big plot point, and I was like, what are we doing? Anyway, so we have Sophie, and with Sophie we got some other characters. We have, I don't know if his name is pronounced like Emily, because it's spelled E-M-I-L-I-E. I have no clue, but that's her brother. And then we have Silver, who I kind of thought like they had a connection by like the scene that we got with him. Then we have Pippa, who is supposed to be Sophie's friend, but then I kind of get vibes that they're like not friends, but they're cool. Celestia, who is the new Micah or Mika, whatever, because obviously Bryce killed Mika and there needs to be a new archangel. So Celestina is the new archangel, and I don't know if I trust her right now. I honestly feel like there's a hidden agenda with her, but I could be wrong. Obviously we have the Autumn King, who is Bryce and Rune's dad, and then we have Cormac, who is their cousin, who is Bryce and Rune's cousin. He shows up and he's a jerk, and him and Bryce are like, they have a forced engagement, and Bryce is like, what is going on? And Cormac seems like this terrible person, right? Had me fooled, let me tell you, because we're about to get to what I just found out. Anyway, then we have Pollux and Baxian, who are two angels that came over to like the 33rd where Hunt works, and they were like there with Hunt, but Hunt doesn't like them, but they were like kind of slaves with Hunt. I don't know, I'm confused. Okay, and then we have Therian, who is looking for Sophie and Emily because the River Queen told him that she knew that there was somebody, and she's looking for Emily, and she's looking to make sure that Sophie is dead because Sophie's body, at the end of like Sophie's point of view, because it's from the third person, she gets like pushed off the, like, you know, when they're like on a pirate ship and they get pushed off the deck. What is it called though? Walk the plank. They walked the plank with her, even though this is supposed to take place in modern times. I don't know. She, like, they tied cement blocks to her feet and like put her in the ocean because she knows intel that is dangerous to the, what is it called? She knows intel that is dangerous to it starts with an A. hold on guys, Asteri. So there's the Asteri and there's the Ophion. Okay, there's the Asteri and there's the Ophion. The Ophion are the rebels against the Asteri, and so Sophie, Pippa, and Silver. Did I talk about Silver? Silver is also like, yeah, I talked about Silver. They're all working for the Ophia. What is it? What did I just call it? Ophion. They're working for Ophion, right? Basically, Sophie had information about the Asteri because they are now going into a war, right? There's also this war that's like overarching around this whole entire plot line too. Like there's this war brewing up that everyone's talking about. And so it's really kind of like against the Asteri and Ophion, I kind of think. I don't know. I could be wrong. Literally, please don't quote me. This is just like me talking and thinking right now. What was I? Sophie is dead, as we are presuming right now, even though I don't think that Sophie's dead, because basically Therian, the River Queen, told Therian, because he's a mermaid, go look for Sophie. So he does, and he finds exactly where she was like dumped, but the chains were unlocked and there wasn't a body. But what's weird about it is that the chains were unlocked. So Sophie may be alive. I kind of feel like she is, but I honestly don't know. I'm hoping she is because of this bomb that we learned. Hold on, give me a second. Emily is Sophie's brother, who she was like trying to protect and get out of this like whatever camp thing that he was in. And so then she finds out that Pippa wants to use Emily because they're Thunderbirds. Sophie and Emily are Thunderbirds. Can you see, like, this is just the explanation. Sophie and Emily are Thunderbirds. So Pippa sees how strong Emily is and she wants to use him as a weapon for the Ophion. So then he gets scared, he runs away. So no one knows where he's at. We find out that Sophie and Danica were in communication because basically like Danica found out about Sophie and wanted to learn this information on the Asteri that she thought, and so she had Sophie go out and do it for her. But then Danica dies before Sophie can even like tell Danica the information, so then she uses this information to the Ophion to get her brother out of this camp, right? And then she's dead. Again, we don't know. The cat, the prince, he is like the prince of something, but he's kind of like a demon, whatever. He lives in hell. Anyway, he comes and he's talking to Bryce, and then also, you know, like Bryce and Hunt, is that storyline's annoying me right now because they have this pact that they made that they're waiting until the winter solstice. Like they're not together, but they both know that they have feelings for each other, but like for some reason, and I do know why, it's because they were like, we want to like take things slow, like we've been through so much, like we want to take it slow. I completely understand, and I like that, like that you're not just jumping into it. They literally were like, we're gonna wait until winter solstice. And it's just like, honestly, that's just a plot to add tension for the relationship, and all it does is make me annoyed. Because I feel like we built up the relationship in the first book, and I feel like now we are still building up the relationship when it doesn't need built up. Like, they literally like each other, and they're just choosing not to be together. Whatever. Anyway, it's stupid. It's dumb. What was I talking about? I feel like when I watch this back and I see, like, my... like, it's gonna be confusing even for me, so I'm sorry. Anyway, so the book starts out with Bryce and Hunt and Bryce's parents. Like, they go to the ballet to watch Juniper because Juniper is basically like a fawn. She's basically like a deer. She's very majestic, and she is a ballet dancer, as we learned in the last book. So she has this like big role in the new ballet. So they're watching her, whatever. They go to this after party at Rune's house where Cormac walks in, and he basically is like this jerk, and then they learn that the Autumn King set up the engagement between Cormac and Bryce, and Cormac acts like no one likes him. At me either. I was literally like, oh my god, I hate this guy. In the middle of this, we are introduced to Celestina. She's again the new Archangel, and she has this good impression. She brings the two other guys that Hunt doesn't like over, whatever. So then we understand that Rune is set to marry Hypaxia. We also learn that Hypaxia isn't just like a healer or whatever. She's also can talk to and rise the dead. We go, and Bryce and Hunt are like doing whatever. They go to the apartment. Ethan is on the floor bleeding, and like they're trying to heal him, whatever. He's fine, by the way. It's just that this journalist, because again, this book is set in modern times, so like, which I like. I think it's a lot easier for me, and I feel like I like that they're like talking about being on their phones and stuff. A lot of people don't like that. I like it just because I think it's different. I love it. I think that's different, you know, whatever. Anyway, Can't believe I just said that. So they're whatever, Ethan, because this journalist came to Ethan and Sabine, which is Danica's mom, that we hate her, she's not good. And basically Sabine was like, Bryce didn't do anything last spring, she didn't save the world like my wolves did, whatever. And then Ethan tells the truth and he's like, no, literally Bryce full force by herself closed all of these gates and saved everybody. You know, she's a great person, whatever. So then Sabine and Amelia, who we also don't like, just basically beat the crap out of Ethan, and then younger sister drops Ethan off at Bryce's house. And then I just wrote, Cormac is annoying and I hate the storyline so much. I hate the storyline. I hated the storyline that we were getting fed up until this point of like them getting married because the way he was acting about it. But this has since changed. Anyway, Hunt fights Pollux and gets put in a cell. It's honestly just kind of like a funny thing. Like him and Pollux, he like gets mad at him because he doesn't like them and they fight and he gets put in a cell and Bryce has to go and like take him out, whatever. I also for a second thought Danica was alive when I learned that Sophie and Danica were in contact. Like, I'm literally so stupid. Then we find out because the prince that we had seen for like a little bit in the last book, who's like a cat and he's like in hell, whatever. I forget what he's the prince of and I don't really feel like going and looking up his name right now. He is at her apartment and he is talking to her and it's like everyone's there. Rune, Hunt, Bryce, Ethan, and Therion they're all there. And so he has this portal open as well. Like, I don't really understand any of the magic, but there's this portal opened as he is talking to them because he had to use portal to get there. So this is important to hear in a second because Bryce's apartment is locked up like Fort Knox. Like not everybody can get, like very little people can get into the apartment because of some magic that is put on it. He is talking to them. He's telling them about this war. He's telling Bryce like, you need to learn your powers because you are super important for this war. Like we are going to need you and basically like my troops are at your disposal kind of thing from what I understood. I may be wrong, like I said, just kind of take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. So then Bryce is like, what? And then they're all kind of talking, getting into it, and then he of course is one for the dramatics and he's like, she tells him, I don't know any rebels, because he's telling her you need to side with Ophion or whatever. I probably mispronounced these so many times. Whatever, the rebel, like not the the other one, the Ophion or whatever. He tells her you need to side with them and she's like, why on God's green earth would I do that? And Hunt's like, why would I do that? Because I literally, that's how I got in my whole entire mess, was by rebelling against the Asteri. He's like, Bryce goes, I don't know any rebels, and he goes, oh but you do. And then he's like, there's one right behind you. So it says, I don't even know any Ophion rebels. And then Adis, his name is Adis, the prince. That's not true. There's one right behind you. Bryce whirled, Hunt with her, lightning poised to strike. Poor MacDonald stood in the doorway, shadows fading from his shoulders. Hello, Agent Silverbow. Adis leaves. Because he's like, peace out, I just dropped this bomb on y'all, you guys can figure this out. And we figure out that Cormac is actually Silver. So like in the beginning when Sophie's talking to Silver and they're like helping get Emily out and they're whatever, he works for Ophion and he is like working with Ophion, which his dad and the Autumn King do not know. No one knows this, it's his secret. How I was like, I think Sophie and Silver like have something going on. We learned that it's Cormac. Then all of a sudden in chapter 16, the tables, they start a turning. Cormac reveals that the only reason that he agreed or wanted to marry Bryce was so that he could like get in with her, because he heard about what she did last spring. He knows how powerful she is. He's researched the starborn magic because like he doesn't have it. He's always been intrigued about it, whatever. So he knows a lot about it and he thought that she could be of help. And then he basically figured out like that he thought that they were also trying to look for Emily, and he also came to the apartment hoping that they did have Emily because he made Sophie this promise and he feels really shook up about it. And then, you know, Rune and Bryce are talking to each other through their minds, kind of like how, you know, in ACOTAR they do. And so then they're like, oh my god, he is in love with this Sophie. So then the wheels start turning in Bryce's head, and basically Cormac is like, I want you guys to help me. I need your guys' help. You know, that's like what he's trying to do. He's like, you guys, we need to find Emily and help me against like this whatever. So then Bryce is like, everyone's like, no. Rune is like, absolutely not, I'm not helping you. Because, you know, Cormac, I think, what did he do? He like stabbed Declan in the stomach with a sword. Like some drama. There's some drama. But then we learn like Cormac doesn't really want to get married to Bryce. Like, he was kind of acting up this whole entire persona that he was doing. He had ulterior motives to get in with her. And so Bryce is like, I will strike you a deal. I will help you find Emily if you help me understand my powers more and like help me with my powers since you know so much about them. Because again, Adis just told Bryce that she needs to learn more about her powers because it could be a huge help with this war. But also, we are not getting married. We're going to break off the engagement. Like, after all of this stuff is like, you know, completed, we are not getting married. We will like keep it up for everyone around us, but this is not something that's actually gonna happen. And Cormac is like, cool. And then Cormac also looks at Rune and is like, hey, I'm gonna be at this bar. I'm basically blackmailing you into helping me because your dad doesn't know about your mind speaking powers, and I will tell him if you don't help me. So you should show up at this bar to talk more about it with me. And Rune is like, what the heck? So then that is where we're at right now. And this is what I mean by I feel like this is where the story is actually gonna start, which is like so annoying that it starts 200 pages in. I've been having a great time reading it though. So that is what we have right now. You know, we have the war, we have the whole entire Ophion versus the Asteri, we have Cormac is actually Agent Silver, the whole Sophie Emily thing, and then just, you know, the whole entire overarching thing of Hunt and Bryce that is annoying me. So that's where we're at in this book. I'm gonna write the rest of this stuff down and then we are going to continue on with reading it. We'll see how long this takes me. It is 12:09 p.m. right now. I started this book last night, but I've been waking up every day at 5 a.m. so I couldn't stay up, but tomorrow's a rest day so we can stay up, and I am going to finish this book today. I'm going to, because I have other reading vlogs to film this month, and this just, I never planned on this being a reading vlog, but like, yay. Okay guys, just read chapter 18, and you know how it was like, this storyline about Hunt and Bryce is so annoying how they're like waiting for winter solstice. Here's the thing, boom, it's done. That's just, it's just gone, because in chapter 18, Bryce looks at Hunt and she's like, oh yeah, and by the way, like, since we have all of this going on and like, I don't know how this is gonna end, like, I don't want to wait until winter solstice, which makes sense. But I just wish that this storyline wasn't even introduced, because it literally was just a thing for like a few chapters, and it was literally only mentioned like twice about their deal. It's just like, when authors do that, like, make it like this big deal, because they were making it like, we're gonna wait 4 months, you know, whatever, until we want to pursue this with each other, and then like all of a sudden it just drops that storyline. So it's just annoying that it was introduced in the first place, especially if you weren't going to do, like, you knew, like, you weren't really gonna stick with that. And I understand why, because some people could be like, it kind of gives them a reason for a little bit of angst between them, but then again, you can just have the angst. You don't need to add some storyline and then not even follow it. Like, you can just have the angst. It's okay, you can just have the angst. But I am happy that Hunt and Bryce are finally like pursuing a relationship with each other. I know that they say like mates are a thing in this world too, but they've never said anything about like Bryce and Hunt being mates. But is it because like she's Fae and he's an angel, so they don't necessarily, because I know they mentioned like with wolves, like that's a thing, and Connor wanted Bryce to be his. I don't know. I'm still in chapter 22, but like we're kind of like in a little break of POVs. Anyway, we learn we're kind of like in Hunt's POV, and he like has to go to the meeting with Celestina. So now she has to like mate with this guy because of something that Pollux pulled, because he's a piece of crap. And then she asks to talk to Hunt, and she basically drops the bomb that her and, I don't know, Shahar were like really close friends, but the Asteri never would have like approved of them being friends, so they kept it quiet. So when Hunt rebelled, she tried 3 different times to buy Hunt, because she wanted to like do good by him since Shahar cared so deeply about him, but she couldn't, and the Asteri denied her every single time. And she basically tells him that she wants to be friends and that she feels bad that she couldn't save him. And he says, you don't need to feel guilty, you know, about what happened to me. Why? If I'd gone to you and Nina, I never would have come here to Lunathian. Whatever. I never would have met Bryce, and every horror, every nightmare, all of it had been worth it for her. Just give me a second. Thank you. I had these thoughts that Celestina is like a bad person, but maybe she is good. I hope she is, because I really hope I'm not going to be bamboozled by this and like she's actually a bad person. Sending you guys back on my cup. So I am officially now in part 2. So I just finished part 1, which makes me think that maybe part 1 was the build up to everything. I don't know. I can't with this fantasy stuff sometimes. Anyway, so what we have learned since we learned about Celestina wanting to help hunt. So Rune and... why did I literally forget Bryce's name for a second? I don't know. Rune and Bryce went out. They were going to go train. And there are these things called Reapers, which I kind of imagine as like Grim Reapers, because that's basically what they are. Like, they're there to collect the souls, basically, of like people who die. That's what my understanding is. And I just literally imagine them as the Grim Reaper from that one cartoon on Cartoon Network. You guys know what I'm talking about. So there's like 5 of them, and they take Rune, and you're like in Rune's POV, and they like take him in the sewer. Like, sometimes I have such a hard time like imagining what the heck is going on, because like imagine like him and Bryce are walking and then all of a sudden he's like slid into a sewer. Like, sometimes it doesn't make sense. But anyway, Rune is kind of like in this state of like, ooh, there's a voice that he thinks that he's heard before, and it's like telling him to wake up, wake up, wake up. So then you go back to Bryce's POV, and basically she goes down into the sewer and she's like talking to them, and basically the Reapers are connected to hell, I assume, I think, because they are passing on a message for the Prince of Pit, and basically saying like he is ready to go to war now. Like, he wants to go to war now, and he wants Bryce's powers to be stronger. Like, he needs her to really understand her powers, because he needs, you know, her to help. And so she's basically like, well, if you guys wouldn't have literally snatched up my brother, because they're also like levitating him, like they're kind of like not letting her get to Rune. And she's like, if you guys wouldn't have snatched up my brother, that we were literally going to train. Like, we were literally going to figure out my powers, and you guys like decided that this was a convenient time to start this mess. They like get into a fight, and you can't kill Reapers. We learned that earlier in the book, like, because there was a scene where there was a Reaper staring at Bryce and Hunt, but they like got away. The Reaper didn't do anything, but like they mentioned that you can't kill a Reaper. We know that Rune always carries this sword. I forget what the sword's name is, but he always carries this sword that's like his. He's the one that found the sword first. Like, it's his, whatever. He's like been telling Bryce this whole entire book, like, this sword is yours. It's not mine. It's yours. Like, you should be using it, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, like, you found it first. It belongs to you. Like, they've been having this conversation so many times, right? Well, she takes the sword, like, as they're fighting. All of a sudden, Cormac comes out of nowhere. This dude can, like, what is it called? Teleport. This dude can teleport. So he's like teleporting, and you know, like they describe his powers as kind of like shadows, which really reminds me of Rezan, because you know, like when they say like his shadows, like whatever, like I don't really ever grasp the concept of anybody's powers in this book. Like, I don't ever fully grasp them. I don't really, I can't picture it. Anyway, he's like helping her fight off these Reapers. She grabs the sword, and when she grabs the sword basically like lights up with magic, and she kills a Reaper. They are unkillable. Like, they've said, like, you cannot kill a Reaper. And with her sword, it lights up and she kills one of the Reapers, and she's basically like, how can this sword do this? And then that is how part 1 ends. She looks at Cormac, because he teleports her and Rune back to the training facility, and she's like, you can teleport? Like, what is going on? And then she's like, and how did I just kill a Reaper with this sword? You know, like, and Cormac is staring at the sword like, what the heck just happened? And then that's the end of part 1. I think there's like 3 parts. I think there was there 3 or 4 parts in the last book? I honestly cannot remember. We are now on page 277. Ugh. I really want to like understand these books, because this is what I decided that I'm going to start doing with fantasy, because sometimes I feel like, since I am wanting to pick up like more fantasy books and the plots and everything can get super complicated, I want to do this, like how I'm writing everything down, which really reminds me of when I was in school and would do this with fantasy or like different books. I feel like I don't really understand like what's going on, and that can really affect a rating, I feel, when you don't understand what's going on fully. With House of Earth and Blood, I honestly feel like if I would have done this, it would have been a 5 stars. If I would have been able to genuinely comprehend what was going on in that book, I feel like it would have been a 5 stars. And I honestly am having a great time reading this. I feel like Sarah J. Maas writes the characters in such a real way that you like fully, when you get introduced to the characters, you fully just like take them in. This could be a 5-star book for me. I'm kind of getting those vibes where I'm just like in it, I'm in the story, I'm like loving it, I'm like writing down everything, and I'm like putting the pieces together and guessing a lot of stuff. But I'm gonna take a little break from reading, and then we are gonna get back in and start part 2. Hello everybody, it is hours later. It's literally 5 p.m. right now. Also, I'm loving the vibe in my room right now. If you guys didn't know, I got a desk and I got like this stuff to put on it. I have like a fan and little lights and stuff. The vibe over here, it's great. The lighting is great. I'm on chapter 29 right now. I took a long break from reading just because I was like doing other stuff and I was taking like a mental break. I just feel like a lot of things are dragged out in this book, and I felt this way in like House of Earth and Blood too a little bit, and I just feel like sometimes we're just taking so long to get to the point. I'm on page 327, so we're not even halfway through the book. Let's actually see. I haven't done this in forever. Oh my god. Let's go on my Goodreads and let's see what percentage I am through this book. I am 40% through this book right now. It's taken me so long just to get here. So I just finished chapter 29, and basically they go down to the bone quarter, which is basically where like they say the souls go and where they live out their life, because they thought that that's where Danica told Sophie and Emily to hide, but it isn't, because the king was like, yeah, there's no one here. There's no living souls here except you and Hunt. What we learned in the first book was that Bryce wanted to make sure that Danica's soul like was shipped off on the ship or something. Stuff that doesn't make sense. She wanted to make sure that Danica's soul was worthy enough to make it whatever. So she gave up basically her spot, resting place that they go to make sure that Danica whatever. And then when Bryce made the drop, Danica gave up her soul to help Bryce do the drop. They go to this land, and basically since Bryce, whenever Bryce dies, she won't go to like a resting spot since she gave up her soul, or that's how this book is saying it right now. And there's a sad moment where Hunt was like, I don't like to remember that because like we won't be able to rest together. But then the king is like, oh yeah, telling them all this stuff, like basically, no, these souls don't just like rest here, like whatever, like no, that's a lie that people try to tell you to comfort you, like that's not even true. I eat the souls. And then basically Bryce is like, why are you telling us this? He's basically, the king was like, yeah, no one knows this, but like that's a lie. They're not cool with the king, by the way. Like this isn't a cool conversation. The king doesn't like Bryce, and like vice versa. So Bryce is like, why are you telling us this? And Hunt's like, because he's not gonna let us make it out of here alive. And the king is like, that's the first intelligent thing that you have said. And then I am presuming that they're about to get into a tussle in the next chapter, which obviously they're gonna make it out of, because like, do you see how much book is left? That's what we're working with right now. When did I oh, I'm sorry, I'm eating cherries. When did I miss Bryce and Hunt are mates? When did I miss that? Miss a monumental moment, or are they realizing it now? Because this page says, for Hunt, there was only Bryce, bleeding and hurt. Bryce, who'd made the brash run for the sword, probably thinking it was her only shot. Bryce, who'd gotten turfy anyway and planned to go down swinging. Bryce, his mate. When did I miss this? Am I that dumb? Did I miss this? A lot of stuff happened that automatically is out of my brain now. Obviously, Bryce and Hunt made it out of the bone quarter, like we knew, but there was this whole entire scene where like Hunt is learning new things about his powers, and like him and Bryce are kind of like basically bouncing off of each other, like their powers like kind of interwork with each other. I also didn't go back to find like the scene where they find out they're mate. I somehow missed that. The Hind came and kind of shook some stuff up, and they were like telling about it, and then Sabine comes in and, you know, attacks Bryce because of Ethan whatever. Anyway, we find out that Maddox, I still don't know his significance. Like this is where things start getting a little somewhere in the haze. Like I don't really know what's going on. I feel like so much useless drama is happening. Also, Charlie is just straight up right here. Slay, girly, slay. But also, I just feel like I feel like so much I feel like so much unnecessary drama is happening. Like, can we just further on with the plot? I feel so bad for Ethan. He was just talking about in his point of view, which it was kind of like pretty known that he had a thing for Bryce, and it's so sad to hear about it from his point of view, because he was saying by the time Connor poked his head into the hall, Ethan had decided he was going to marry her. He'd attend CCU, play sunball for them, and not Corithiu, who'd already been wooing him, and he'd find this girl and marry her. He suspected they might even be mates if he was right about the gut tug toward her, and that would be that. And then Connor had said, looks like you met Ethan already, Bryce, and Ethan had wanted to dissolve into the disgusting dorm carpet. And then he talks about how he like always acted like he was interested in this other girl just so that he could have something to talk to Bryce about. And then basically, and then he says about how basically the reason that Connor asked her out the night that he died was because basically Ethan was like, if you don't, somebody will, because he didn't want to start an argument, but like obviously that somebody was Ethan. And so Connor asked her out, and then he was really mad at Bryce because, you know, in the last book Ethan was like really mad at her because she went and like was with somebody else the night after she told Connor yes that they were going to go out, and then she was with somebody else while they were dying. So he held that grudge against her. He said he wants to go back to the bone quarter because he wants to make sure that Connor's soul is okay. Like he wants to make sure he's okay. So he's asking Therian to take him. And before that though, he goes, he knew Bryce was pissed about it, upset, but she had Athalar now, and no part of Ethan resented them for it. No, that history was behind him, but he didn't know what to do with himself when he spoke to her, the girl he'd been so convinced would be his wife and mate and mother to his kids. How many times had he allowed himself to picture that future? Him and Bryce opening presents with their children on winter solstice eve, traveling the world together while he played sunball, laughing and growing old in this city, their friends around them. It is, why, Sarah J. Maas? Why must you do this to me? Why must you make me feel terrible for him? I can't even write down things like this because I don't understand it. How Ethan, Bryce, and Therian went to this astronomer who has these holograms, and these mystics go and find these souls because they were trying to see where Connor's was, and then it said it was in hell, but it was actually one of the princes, his brother. Like there's 4 princes because they're all brothers. They're all princes of hell of some sort. I don't know. Anyway, he like caused this whole commotion, and Therian like kind of spilled the beans a little bit. Like he was asking about a Thunderbird, and Bryce and Ethan were like, what are you doing? And so they kind of were getting into an argument once they got kicked out of the astronomer's place because they kind of like crashed it. I don't know, a lot going on, stuff that I really don't understand. And then they're like arguing outside, and then Bryce is like, you know what, Therian, we're done, we're through, we're not helping you with this because you are just a backstabber. And he's like, you don't understand me enough in the stuff that is going on with my family to call me a backstabber. And then she turns to Ethan to be like, let's go, and he's just like frozen. And then they turn around, and who is in the alley other than Maddox? Stuff's going down, or maybe it's not, because sometimes I think stuff's going down and it's literally just drama points for no reason. Like when they went to the bone quarter and they had to like fight, I know it's probably for Hunt to like see how their powers work together and stuff, but it felt useless. This feels useless. Like there's so many of these scenes, there's so much going on right now, and I don't understand literally any of it. They all went to the thing where Pippa is, and then Hunt destroyed a bunch of trucks that I don't even know in this suit that they were designing. Cormac got shot by this bullet that suppresses his powers, and now they're in the ocean, and the Hind is there, and they're found out that they're traitors. That's really like all I'm getting. I'm not getting the like intricate details of this. See, this is what I was confused by. Hunt is going all like ballistic because he feels obviously that Bryce is threatened, and this dude has like lightning in his eyes. Like his eyes aren't even white, they're just like lightning, and lightning coming out of his mouth, and like lightning all around it, and these like humans are trying to help them. I don't know what's going on right now. The Hunt is basically like going ballistic, and Bryce is like trying to calm him down, and Rune's like, this is how he was that day with Sandriel when he ripped off her head. You were in danger then too. And Bryce is like, what is that supposed to mean? And then Rune's like, you tell me. And she's like, you tell me, since you know everything. Like typical sibling dynamic. And he goes, it means that he's going ballistic in the way that only mates do when the others threaten. It's what happened then, and it's what's happening now. Your true mates, the way Fae are mates, in your bodies and souls. That's what was different about your scent the other day. Your scents have merged as they do between Fae mates. And I literally said that earlier, did I not? I was like, oh, Rune said something about her scent. Is it just because that she was at the bone quarter, or is it because he can tell that they are mates, like how you can in ACOTAR. It's weird though, because he's basically saying that, because he says Athalar was dangerous before, but as a mated male, he's utterly lethal. And Bryce said he was always lethal, not like this. There's no mercy in him. He's gone lethal in a Fae way, in that predatory kill all enemies way. But he's an angel. Doesn't seem to matter. What? Can't with this right now. See, this is what I was like missing, like this moment. Also, we're in like this super stressful situation for me, because the Hind basically found out that they're traitors, right? Hunt started going all like lightning in his eyes, and the Hind was like and got on her little jet ski. That's literally what I imagine it. What do they call it? What did she call it? Oh yeah, and then the Hind also said, I showed one of these to Sophie before she died, you know, made this same demonstration, died. The words seemed to clang across the water. The Hind had truly killed her then. But why do I feel like she's not dead? Anyway, I forget what they called the thing that the Hind is on, but I literally pictured it as a jet ski. Like her literally just like on a jet ski, just like driving away. Imagining like ethereal being just riding a jet ski. It's a little too modern. I'm sorry, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but like Bryce always going alpha male, or alpha whatever. Anyway, all the time when Hunt helps her literally 24/7 and their powers merge, right? Their powers merge. He's like, maybe you have to use like some of Hunt's power to help you teleport. And she's like, that's so alpha, whatever. Like, I'm an independent woman. And it's like, you guys are literally mates. Yes, I'm all for an independent woman, but like, can we stop with the alpha hole and the like acting like Hunt can't help you because you're super duper independent? Like, you guys are mates, he can help you. It's so annoying. I thought we'd have more character development than this. Okay, I guess this book decided to get sad all of a sudden, literally. So obviously Cormac had to get operated. I'm literally about to cry. Cormac had to get operated on, whatever. Her and Bryce went in there to talk to Cormac, like I said. And then the med witch comes in. The med witch told me near delirium that you were talking about someone named Sophie Renist. The name is known to us here. We've heard of her work for years now, but I thought you should know that we were summoned to rescue an agent from the North Sea weeks ago. It wasn't until we reached her that we realized it was Sophie. The room went utterly silent. Cormac's swallow was audible as Senda's went on. We were too late. Sophie had drowned by the time our divers picked her up. The next chapter starts with, the morgue was cold and quiet and empty. And then it gets even sad, because it goes, Cormac knelt beside the body preserved by a med witch until the ship could hand Sophie over to the Ophian rebels for claiming. The prince was silent. He'd been this way since Sundays had come into the room. I knew, Cormac said roughly, his first words a minute. I think I always knew, but she was good and brave and kind. I never deserved her, not for 1 minute. Because I was really holding on to hope that she was alive, because I feel like I didn't like Cormac at first, but I feel like the more he does, like, I feel like he really deserves a happy ending, and this sucks because they could tell as soon as he even whatever that he loved her. She was good and brave and kind and never deserved her, not for 1 minute. Can we make a happy ending for him, please? Can we bring her back? We've already lost Danica and Connor. Why do we have to kill off any more people? It even got more sad. Not as Cormac slid his fingers beneath the black cloth and pulled out a blue-tinged stiff hand. He clasped it in his own, kissing the dead fingers. His shoulders began to shake as tears flowed. And then he talks about how they met, and he says, I should have gone back for her that night. Therian said, I'm sorry if I gave you false hope, because Therian, like, you know, said, like, the shackles were unlocked, like, basically saying, like, maybe she unlocked herself, you know, and kind of giving Cormac this false hope. And he goes, it kept her alive in my heart a little longer, Cormac said. He pressed her stiff hand against his brow. My Sophie. Why can't we just be happy? My Sophie. Okay guys, we're officially in part 3. See right here? And can I say how confused I am in these little snippets we get of like Rune in this like whatever state? He's called Knight, and the thing that he's with is called Day. So confused. I don't know what's going on with that. Like, I feel like we just got this information just dropped on us so casually that Baxian, who was like one of the people that, like I said earlier at the beginning of this video, that Hunt didn't like, that like Hunt was with under his whatever. And you want to know what? I've had this sneaky suspicion that Baxian is like actually a good guy, and that like he's been trying to like show Hunt he is like doing stuff, you know. Anyway, he was at their door and he rushes in and he's like, I want in on whatever you're doing. I saw what you did. I saw you blow up these and I want in on what's going on. And then they're like, what? There could be, what did they say? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. There are rebel sympathizers in the 33rd. Hunt said firmly, we couldn't risk tipping them off. I know, Baxian replied with equal cool, I'm one of them. So he wants in on their plan. He's like, guys, hello, I want to help. I knew that he was a good guy. I knew it. I'm confused. I am confused. Why are we dropping information all on me at once? My brain cannot take this. My brain is not smart enough to do this, guys. I can't. Okay, so basically Baxian leaves. He's mad. They're all like denying that they're in on anything. And he's mad because he's like, okay, well, whatever. I'm trying to help you guys, but you guys obviously, like, when you guys want my help, come call me. Rune leaves because Flynn calls him, which, by the way, I haven't said anything, but Flynn and Ethan and Declan are all in some like weird subplot, deep stuff, because basically Ethan went back to the sorcerer. How I said I didn't understand, like, you know, when he asked about Connor and then like all the stuff went down and holograms and stuff. Like, there's so many things happening in this book at one time. That's also an issue because you literally get everybody's point of view. Like, I'm talking about everybody's, which it's all told from third person, but like you can tell whose point of view you're in. Literally, you get everyone's point of view. There's so much going on with literally every single character that you have to remember in your mind what every single character has going on with themselves. Like, it is crazy what it adds into the whole entire plot. So much going on. That's what I would say about this book, is there's so much going on. Ethan found out that the girl, like, he like cracked one of the tanks and saved the girl, and he goes back and the sorcerer wasn't right there, but the girl was out of the tank still, and he figures out that she's that wolf, but she's also an alpha, so she's like a strong wolf, and he's like trying to convince her to like let him take her out because she's been there since she was like 4 years old. Like, her parents sold her off to the sorcerer and he treats her terribly. So then Ethan steals 4 fire sprites and then frees them, and he has that whole entire situation going on at Rune's house. So Rune's like, hey, Flynn's calling me, I gotta go, not even knowing what he has waiting for him. So then he leaves and Bryce is trying to talk to Hunt, and he's like, how about you tell me what the F you know about Emily? And she's like, nothing. His eyes blazed. Oh, Bedsos practically blabbed, didn't she, with her talk about Snake? Are you insane sending that kid to the Viper Queen? Chapter ends. I know that when we were like in the scene earlier with Pippa and stuff, and then Hunt had said that like he could tell by Bryce's like body language or something that she knew something. Like, she knew. But he was like, we'll talk about that at a later time. Anywho, and then Rune is now at his own house. He sees all of these fire sprites, right? All he says is, please tell me they're at least here legally. Nope, Flynn said cheerfully. I live for Flynn and his energy, honestly. He's amazing. But then we go back to Hunt's point of view. Hunt had 2 options: start shouting or start laughing. And that is so me. When I'm really mad, I'm like, okay, I'm either gonna start screaming or I'm gonna start just laughing because I have to laugh about this. How'd you figure it out? Bryce's brows bunched. She hadn't denied it on the flight over here, that she'd somehow gotten Emily to the Viper Queen, and Hunt had been too effing pissed to ask any question. Am I missing something? Like, am I genuinely dumb? Because I don't think that this was ever talked about, that she got this kid to the Viper Queen. Color me confused, ladies and gentlemen. What? Bryce, I guess, has been scheming this whole entire time with the Viper Queen because Bryce had to make it seem like she was also looking for Emily when she really knew where he was this whole entire time. And then like Hunt's like, your powers, you know, like it's the same as you are inside, like, yeah, da da da. And Emily's like, what powers? And then Bryce is like, Hunt, Emily doesn't have powers. He doesn't have any powers. And Hunt's like, but the Omega ships you blew up. And he's like, that was Sophie. What? So Sophie lied and said that he had the same Thunderbird powers just so they would help her get her brother back. Oh Oh my gosh, it hurts even worse now. It hurts. I need to shake off the pain. Why are we doing this? Everything was going just fine, and now the Autumn King has to come in and be like, oh really? Well, you wanted to put on your court documents that you're of my heritage? Well then guess what? I'm changing your name and you are gonna get married to Cormac. Why are we doing this with this much left of the book? Why are we doing this? I'm a little concerned because I only have this much left on the book. I'm on chapter 63 right now, and basically not a lot has been happening. It's just literally been like they went to this ball thing, and basically Bryce said in front of everybody that Hunt is her mate, and you know, like in Fae law, you like are with your mate, so like now they're together. There's no issues with it. He's now a prince since she's a princess. I am going to cry. I knew Baxian was a good guy. Basically, there's like a lot going on. The night, why was I about to say the night court? Please. Pippa was like, see what happens when you betray us, and like a bunch of stuff is going on, right? And Bryce is trying to use her powers. She sees Baxian and she's like, what are you doing here? He goes, through love, all is possible. The rifle nearly tumbled from her fingers. What? Baxian peeled back the collar of his battle suit, revealing brown muscled flesh and a tattoo scrawled over the angel's heart in familiar handwriting. Through love, all is possible. She knew that handwriting. Why, she asked carefully, do you have Danica's handwriting tattooed on you? Baxian's dark eyes became empty because Danica was my mate. Why does this book want to cause me physical pain? I loved her more than anything. Oh, dang it. She was my mate. Ask Sabine. Ask her why she ran the night she burst into your apartment. She always hated and feared me because I saw how she treated her daughter and wouldn't put up with it, because I promised to turn her into Carrion one day for what Danica endured. That's why Sabine left the party last night so fast, to avoid me. Why? Here's the thing that I get so annoyed by is that there's so many different plot lines. Therion is pledging himself and is going to become a fighter for the Viper Queen. Ethan's over here figuring out that the wolf girl is related to Sabine or something. And then you have what Hunt and Bryce and Rune are all dealing with, what Hypaxia is doing. It's everywhere. Guys, why do I think that Cormac is gonna die? Because think about it. Him and Rune went to go check on them because they're breaking into the Ice Palace or Crystal Palace, whatever it is. So Cormac's like being really emotional, whatever. And then Cormac is like, you know, I'm like, whatever, that your dad didn't take the kindness out of you. Bryce has really helped me. Like Cormac was saying how Bryce has helped him. And then he goes, when all this is done, I want us to start over. Us, you and me, prince to prince, future king to future king. Screw the past and screw the stuff with the star sword. Screw our fathers. We don't let them decide who we get to be. We'll carve our own path. Cormac smiled almost sadly, then took Rune's hand, clasping firmly. It'd be an honor. I'm hoping and praying that he doesn't die, because I feel like Cormac really deserves to be in the circle. I almost said inner circle, but no one compares to the inner circle. What did I tell you guys? What did I tell you? Literally, Therion and Cormac were going down, and Therion was like, oh my god, he's going rogue. What's going on? He starts facing off against Pippa, and he's like, go to Therion, and Therion goes. Therion knew that tone, knew that look, and it was then that he understood. Cormac hadn't just gone rogue. He'd never intended to get out of here alive. I knew it. Because he doesn't have anything to live for now that Sophie's not here. Great. Cormac's dead. Oh my god. He like set them all on fire and told Therion like, get out now. And Therion was half a mile away when the entire building exploded, taking Cormac, the suits, and the rebels with it. Oh my god. Why are we doing this? Oh my god. The Hind is Day. The Hind is Day because the Hardy was about to kill Rune, and the Hind like pushed the knife like away from him, because at the like ball thing where like Bryce and Hunt like announced whatever, and he was supposed to meet Day, and he saw the did he saw the harpy? She was like, oh, would it be so bad if it was? But it's the Hind. Oh my god. Oh my god, it is Hein. That's why she didn't tell on them, because she was also, that's why she was there, that's why she didn't tell on them. Oh my god, how am I so stupid? So this guy named Regulus, he pretended to be Adis that night, and then he also is the one that sent the Reapers for her. Like he's the one that's been behind this whole time. I don't remember who he is. Like I literally feel like this is my first time hearing about this man. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen. There's so much stuff that I'm just gonna hold this. Oh my gosh, Celestina sold them out. I knew she wasn't good. I told you guys, I knew it. OMG. No! Ugh, I can't believe this. My bargain holds. You let Hunt and Rune go freely and unharmed forever, and I'll help you. I love you. I wish I'd said it more, but I love you, Quinlan, and our love is stronger than time, greater than any distance. Our love spans across stars and worlds. I will find you again. I promise. Oh my gosh. Oh wait, what? Okay, so she's undone their shackles. I am lost. I am lost. Through his change the ground the moment Rune said the word queen, and his mate launched her binding power at Regulus. Hunt hurled. Bryce's heart cracked piece by piece with each step she ran from the throne as she sped down the long. She'd taken her chances with Adis and Thantos and Apollon to get their armies and bring them to Wait, she actually wait, so she knew? Wait, I'm confused. Okay, Bryce is not shifting. God, what's it called? Teleporting. Okay, I am now even more confused. I am so confused. Oh my god, he is Hunt. I don't really understand. I don't understand, but I know it's not good. Hell had grass and mist. No. Oh my god. No way. Wait, what? Okay. She was on someone's clipped, immaculate lawn, and across the river, a city, ancient and beautiful, like something on the picture and postcard. Get up. Bryce swallowed hard, as if she could drink down her shaking, and slid out a leg to rise. The harpy's blood still soaked her leg. Something icy and sharp pressed against her throat. A cool male voice spoke above her, behind her, in a language she did not recognize, but the curt words and tone were clear enough. Don't move. The male voice demanded something in that strange language, and Bryce stayed on her knees. He hissed, and then a strong hand clamped her on the shoulder, hauling her up and twisting her to face him. Black boots, dark, scale-like armor over a tall, muscled body, wings, great black wings, the demon. But the male face that stared through the mist, grave and lethal. It was beautiful, despite the fact that his hazel eyes held no mercy. He spoke again in a soft voice that promised pain. Adis, I need to see Adis. Can you take me to him? His attention drifted to the star sword lying in the grass between them. His eyes widened slightly. Bryce lunged a step towards him. Making... What? No, don't tell me this is what I think it is. Don't. With scarred hands... Oh my god, is this Azrael? Oh, she did not. This is like the book version of Spider-Man No Way Home for me. What? I'm gonna cry. No, I'm gonna cry. Then the hands were on her knees on the ground because the scarred hands. Azrael has scarred hands and the bat wings. They ate bread in hell, had flowers. Oh my god, and Hunt is under the dude's control. Adis, get Adis. Oh my god. But this room, this house, dark oak, wood floors and furniture, rich velvet fabrics. I know Rizian's decor when I see it. This petite, dark-haired female with angular eyes like furies drew up short. Her red painted mouth dropped open, no doubt at the blood all over Bryce's face. This female was fey, clad in beautiful yet thoroughly old-fashioned clothes, like the stuff they wore on Avalon. Another winged male, broader than the other, swaggered in, a pretty female with brown gold hair at his side, also fey, also wearing clothes that seemed of some sort of fantasy film. Bryce blurted, I've been trying to ask him, but he doesn't understand. Is this hell? I need to see Prince Adis. The dark-haired one turned to the others and said something that had them all angling their heads at Bryce. The swaggering male sniffed, trying to read the scent of the blood on her. The petite, dark-haired female staggered back, a hand to her mouth. Oh my god, is this where... Oh. The dark-haired female observed Bryce from head to toe, the clothes so thoroughly at odds with their own attire, the blood and the cut. No one has spoken that language in this world for 15,000 years. Please, I need to find Prince Adis. I don't know who that is. Apollyon, then, sure. You know the Prince of the Pit. I do not know of such people. Then where am I? What world is this? The front door opened again. First, a lovely male with the same brown gold hair as the one already standing before Bryce entered. She wore a loose white shirt over brown pants, both splattered with paint. Mayra! Oh my god! Her hands... Oh my god, her hands were tattooed to the elbows in intricate swirls, but her blue-gray eyes were wary, soft and curious, but wary. The winged dark male who stepped in behind her, Bryce gasped, Rune? The male blinked. His eyes were the same shade of violet blue as Reason. I know my guy when I see him. The male's skin was browner, but the face, the posture, it was her brother's. His ears were pointed too, though he also possessed those leathery wings like the other two males. So the one that found her was Azriel, or Azriel, however you pronounce it. And then the other two that came in were Cassian and Nesta, and then obviously the short dark hair is Amryn. So Amryn is from the world that she found out about before, like years ago, how the whole entire information that Danica found out was that they had a world, in the world that they live in now, they took them from the other world to put them in this world to basically control them. So maybe Amryn was from that other world, right? Maybe she was from that other world. The female beside him asked the petite female question in their language, but the male continued to stare at Bryce. He lifted his gaze to her, stars in his eyes, actual stars. Bryce pleaded with the petite female, my world, Midgard, is in grave danger. My mate, I didn't mean to come here. I meant to go to hell to get aid from the princess, but I don't know what this world is or how to find hell. I need your help. It was all there was left to do, throw herself at their mercy and pray they were decent people. They are, girl. They're amazing people. They're great people. That even if she'd come from another world, they'd recognize her as Fae and be compassionate. The petite female seemed to repeat Bryce's words to the others. The female with the tattooed hands asked Bryce a question in their language. The petite one translated. She wants to know what your name is. My name is Bryce Quinlan. The male stepped forward, tucking his wings. He smiled slightly and said in the old language, in a voice like glorious night. Hello, Bryce Quinlan. My name is Recent. I don't think I can do this. First of all, before I read the epilogue, to those of you who I was like, yeah, I don't know, people say that like this series kind of like has to do with ACOTAR, like I don't know, and I got so many comments that were like, doesn't really have anything to do with ACOTAR. Did you guys not read this? Like, guys, I'm on the brink of tears. I don't know why. And this book is a newer release, so oh my god, I'm not gonna get any books forever. Gosh, hello, Bryce Quinlan. My name is Resand. I still can't get over. The male stepped forward, tucking in his wings. He smiled slightly and said in the old language in a voice like glorious night. Hello, Bryce Quinlan. My name is Resand. I can't read. Okay, what's this epilogue about? This epilogue better serve just like this last chapter did. They've been taken prisoner by the Steri. Deck saw it on the palace feet. Therian called, and then he goes, Bryce, a long pause. She disappeared. You gotta come hear from Deck. Is she alive? The last we saw her in this world. What do you mean in this world? You have to see it for yourself. I can't. I've got something to do. We need you. He said my pack needs me. Oh my, does this book want to make me cry? Because he basically is going into the thing and taking the wolf that he found in the astronomer's like lab, and he's like, you're coming with me. Please My friends need me, my pack needs me. That's what they'd become. He'd lost his brother's pack, the pack that would have one day been his, but this one, he wouldn't lose it. Would fight until the bitter end to protect it. Please. Brow furrowed, the fuse on her tank began blaring and beeping, flashing red. The hair on Ethan's arms rose, and then lids fluttering like the alpha fought for every inch toward awakening. The lost fender air opened her eyes. And that's the end. There's not another book coming out in this series for a while. So basically where we are left at right now is that everything went wrong, and basically Bryce was going to, Cormac's dead, Sophie's dead, and the Hind is Rune's love. Everything went wrong. Bryce was supposed to teleport to hell to get Prince Adis and the other alien, whatever, to get the armies to take down the Asari. Basically what Bryce found out was there was this world, and basically the Asari took people from this world and put them in the world that they're in now so that they could control them, essentially. I don't know. And then Hunt, I had to read, I literally thought that everything was going to be better, and then it wasn't. Hunt and Rune are now prisoners of the Asari, and Hunt is basically like getting mind controlled, essentially, from what I think. And then instead of Bryce getting transported to hell, she got transported to like, this book is my Spider-Man No Way Home. This book just Spider-Man No Way Homed me. And you guys didn't see my live reaction for that, but you guys saw my live reaction for this. This is absolutely freaking insane. Obviously, oh my god, my heart. Asriel, obviously, like we all know Az, if you've read the Extra series, that he was like thinking that it was a threat, so he brought Bryce in, and then when she's like begging and Amren's like, holy crap, someone speaking this language that I haven't heard spoken in years, because you know no one really knows what Amren is. She's never really like said what she is or where she's even from. So my theory is that she's from that other original world. Like, that's my theory. He brings her in, and then Reese and Feyre come in, and Feyre's like, what is going on? You know, Reese is like, hi Bryce Quinlan, my name's Reese Hand. And then I don't know what's going on with Ethan and that wolf. I don't know like why that was like very important. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. If you guys read this book, please tell me your thoughts down below. How am I ever gonna recover from this? But here's the thing that doesn't make sense to me, because it would make more sense if it was going to be in the next ACOTAR book. That book would be from Feyre and Rhysand's perspective, because like obviously they are the main ones that would be dealing with the situation. So it would make more sense for it to be their book. I'm not against them getting another book and that being the next one. I'm not against it, in case anyone was like wondering. I don't really even see her doing that for the next ACOTAR book though. I see her doing that for the next Crescent City book. And wow, way to end on a cliffhanger. Honestly, the last book, like I was like not fully going into this one because it didn't end on a cliffhanger, so I didn't feel like I had to like go into this book, because it kind of ended where the Asari was like, yeah, just like don't cause any problems and we like won't make this an issue. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you guys liked it, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff you guys know how to do. Eat, sleep, breathe, and repeat. Peace. I'll see you guys when I see ya. Peace. It didn't feel right not saying it.